Hi everybody, and now for your Alaska weather. This is issued on Thursday, August 17th, and this is the outlook for the next couple of days. And tonight we're actually going to cover all the way into the month of September. So let's get started here. First of all, a few weather headlines. Really pretty windy up there in the Yukon Flats. That's all the way into tomorrow. We have a cold front moving into northern Alaska. You'll see that in the surface charts in just a moment. We have some heavy rain tonight all the way into this weekend for a good portion of northern Alaska. We'll show you where that is on the map in a minute. High water and heavy surf this weekend too, with a long fetch out of the southwest. And Chichalden volcano really has quieted down quite a bit over the last couple of days. So let's get started here. First of all, here's our warning map. That northern area that you can see in the light gray color, that's where the heavy rain is expected right on through this weekend. Down on the west coast, including St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, that's the area where we expect a high surf, very high tides, and also we're going right into a new moon right now. So, and there around Fort Yukon is where we've got the wind advisory going. So yesterday's lightning, a little bit over 1,700 strikes, all the way up into the central interior, almost down to the Alaska range there, and then a little bit in the southeast mainland, just bordering into British Columbia and the Yukon Territory there. So, speaking of fire weather, let's take a look. Little or no thunderstorm activity means no new real ignitions for wildland fire starts. The fuels are not very burnable for over most of Alaska. One exception is along the Yukon River from Fort Yukon down to about Tanana or so. The sun angle, as you may have noticed, is much weaker than in June. So even on a clear day, clear sunny day, we just don't get those fuels to heat up and dry substantially. So the outlook is a return to hot and dry weather is not likely for the whole next week. And the wildland fire season isn't over, but it sure is winding down. So Yogi Berra said it ain't over until it's over. So, okay, so we've got the fire danger, and there is that very small portion of the state where we've got high and medium dried out spruce for potential fuels. So now let's take a look at the satellite imagery. First of all, you'll notice that a surface front moving on to the northern sections from the northwest. We also look just south of Unalaska there and Sand Point. A little bit of developing system, and that's got actually some tropical moisture in it, which is from old Hurricane Dora, which caused so much problems in Hawaii. And then also you see some skiffs of moisture over toward southeast as well as into Yukon Territory and British Columbia. So for today's weather, there's our front, and it's moved into the northwest. And then we also have a little bit of low pressure inland from about just the Valdez area, so on off into Canada. And that 1,017 millibar low that's developing just down there south of Dutch Harbor. Now for tonight, that system cranks up a little bit. It's got a full occluded front around it. It's shaping up a bit. Again, that tropical moisture in it, so any place where it is raining from that system ought to be pretty good rains. And 1,016 millibars. Also note the front, hanging up a little bit on the Brooks Range, but into western Alaska, particularly across Norton Sound or so, pretty dry for the rest of the state, although we do forecasting some clouds. Now on Friday, what we've got is a whole new front moving in from the northwest. And that system is cooler air, so you can see some freezing and frozen precipitation behind it. Also, maybe a little bit of termination dust there in the eastern Brooks Range or so, and perhaps a touch in the Alaska Range in the very, very highest elevations. Now, we also have this 994 millibar low that's out there in the far western Bering Sea. That system is got portions of old typhoon land in it. So there's some tropical moisture there. It's a fairly warm low. And then our old friend south of Kodiak Island there, 1014, just very slowly moving up, not developing very much, but there's tropical moisture in that system too, with a 1013 millibar high well south of the Gulf. And pretty dry but onshore flow conditions there for southeast Alaska. And then for Saturday, that system again drops a little bit, about 1013 in the central Gulf, occluded front around that with plenty of precipitation again, old tropical moisture in that. The high has receded a little bit to 1030, a weak surface trough over the state. That cold front didn't amount to very much as far as really colder air, but it is still a trough and is still going to cause plenty of precipitation, including a little termination dust over the Brooks Range. And then what I wanted to show you here too is we've got this system out in the Bering Sea. One of the lows, 1006, is going up to the Gulf of Anadyr. The second one is 997 down off of Kamchatka. But notice that those lines indicate a good southwest flow into Norton Sound and some of the west coast. And that the wind is what's going to push the water up, give us a little bit higher than normal tides and some of that surf, because anytime you have a long fetch like that, you get an ocean swell. So now for our low temperatures Friday morning, temperatures generally in the 40s across most of the state. You see a few lower 50s readings here and there, but otherwise 40s. And then for our highs Friday afternoon, some 60s in the central interior, otherwise 40s on the north slope into the lower 50s. And then as you get toward the southwest, mid to upper 50s, but still those 60s in the central, for south central and on up into the Yukon Flats. Looks like Eagle is going to touch 70. And then look at those warm temperatures in southeast Alaska too. You've got temperatures in the upper 60s, so ain't quite fall down there yet. And then for our low temperatures, Saturday morning, again, got a couple of readings with 30s on the north slope, but generally 40s across the state. Anchorage might hold up there at 52 degrees, otherwise a few 50-degree readings, and then a little bit warmer in the Panhandle. And then for Saturday afternoon, temperatures in the 40s all the way up to the lower 50s along the north slope. But when you get down, and we've got still a little bit of sunshine going, temperatures in the 60s in a broad swath across much of the central areas, including the Yukon Flats. 70 again forecasted for this time for Gulkana and also for Eagle. 70 for looking for Skagway with ample sunshine down there, but generally in the 60s in the Panhandle, and out the 50s as you go out the Aleutian Chain, 55 for the Pribilofs. So for our 6 to 10 day outlook, we're looking for above normal temperatures in the southeastern portion of the mainland and the Panhandle. But a little bit cooler than normal is a better probability for the northwest coast on the Chukchi Sea, including Nome and Kotzebue. And then for our precipitation area, looks like a pretty good signal that it's going to be above normal precipitation for just most of the mainland portion of the state. Normal as you get further toward the southeast. And then look at that below normal good chances for the Panhandle as well. And then for our 8 to 14 day, looks pretty much the same with our high temperatures in the southeast and a pretty good possibility. And then again, some probability that's going to be below normal along the west coast. And then again, the precipitation generally focused over the mainland portion of the state with a little bit good signal that it's going to be above normal. And again, calling for below normal precipitation for the Panhandle. And then finally, we've got the CPC just issued today for September. We have equal chances of our temperatures for a large portion of the western and central portion of the state. However, as you get further east or north or further toward the southeast, there's a signal that it's going to be above normal temperatures out there. And then for precipitation, which is real dicey to call for a whole month, but let's just say we're going to call it, slightly better than 50-50 chance that we're going to see above normal precipitation for the western half of the state, and then equal chances for the eastern half of the state until you get down in the Panhandle, and then it looks like below normal precipitation for them. Now, don't forget, this is their getting into the rainy time of year in the Panhandle, so for them to be below normal, it still means that they could be getting some rain. So that's it for our broadcast today. I want everybody to pay attention to that heavy rain up in the northwest, also the windy conditions in the Yukon Flats, and high surf coming this weekend with some really high tides. So pay attention to that on the west coast, and everybody stay safe out there. Thanks for tuning in.